Hey everybody, this is Ryan,
And this is Rob,
and you're watching Frontier.
or listening. We come at you today amid COVID season, returning back to school season, and trying. Are we doing marching band season? Question mark. And everybody. I think it changes so much from school to school, even neighboring school districts, maybe county to county. And today, Ryan and I are going to talk about the differences that we're experiencing, and you know what is the marching COVID life like?
Yeah, first of all, I'll say, we've been pretty fortunate with everything going on. There hasn't been really too many accidents or whatever, and we've been able to do rehearsals and whatnot. But it seems like, at least in the area that we're in, that marching band is happening, and we just got the go ahead for football to happen. So at this point, I think marching band is definitely happening. It's going to be different. There's no competitions, at least here in Ohio, but I think that's also kind of nationwide, that there's no more competing for marching band. But I also don't necessarily think that's a bad thing either, at least in terms of like student growth and program growth and that kind of stuff.
Okay, so let's kick it off right there. Why is it good? What, in your opinion, you say it's good for growth in the program to not have competitions this year amidst COVID? Why is that? Where do you see that being a benefit?
Well, I think it's different for every program. I think a lot of things that we're going to talk about are different for every program. But I think that this is a time where we can really focus on teaching our students and focus on their individual growth, instead of having to worry about, like, we got a show on September 14th, which, if you think about it, like, if we were competing here in Ohio, at least, I don't know, I'm still relatively new to the circuit down here in Cincinnati, but up north, the first show would be like September 14th, which is less than a month from now. And, we'd be having those 3-week out panic attacks or 4-week out panic attacks of, like, this kid can't play this, and this is this, and do we cut this, and do we, like, what do we worry on, and what do we focus on, and the show's not done. And, it's been nice to teach without a time constraint, so that's like, all right, we're going to focus on these skills, and then whatever the goal is for ensemble, we're going to work towards that goal. But I don't feel pressure to be like, all right, we got to go in and have this whole thing done for ensemble. And I feel like, at least the band that I am the percussion director at, that's kind of the staff's mentality of it, is like, we're going towards this goal. Like, our goal is, all right, let's put the first half of part 1 on the field for today, and we're going to work towards that goal, but we're not going to skip over any steps of, like, training the kids and teaching the kids just to meet that goal, which is really nice. Whereas before, it was like, all right, we got to do this and we got to get this done. And then you get to that and you're like, that's not good, and that's not good, and that's not good, and that's not good. And those things aren't good because these 3 steps before it haven't happened yet because I ran out of time. Whereas now you're like, all right, those things might not be good, but the steps are there and they're taking place in the correct order to make them happen.
Okay, so like, man, okay, so I've got a couple of things on that. So like, like philosophically here, if you say that we're approaching it more student centered instead of like competition centered, like what, like, then how can we say that the competition is for the benefit of the student? Like, is there a way that maybe the competition is also good? Like, is it an intrinsic motivator? You know what I mean?
Well, the competition is an intrinsic motivator, and I don't necessarily think that we're, like, previous to this, I don't think we were necessarily teaching to, like, the competition aspect of it. I mean, that's like the self-imposed timeline of it, like,
Yeah.
like, just think of it as a student. Like, if you have a test on Friday, you're going to learn the material, like, you're probably going to learn the material, like, half-heartedly and not quite know all of it and that kind of stuff, just to make sure you get by on the test.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you're just, you know, there's a lot of students where if it's just like just learn this, you know, they're not going to do that because they, you know, they're having too much fun on TikTok or whatever. Um, but if you're like, all right, this test is whenever you get done with the material, you know, I think that just brings out a different way. Like the material will be learned more because you can take your time, or learned better because you can take your time doing it.
Okay.
You know, and I don't think we could shift our whole educational philosophy, that's the word I'm looking for, in America to that like learn at your own pace thing.
Yeah.
But I definitely think taking this year of marching band and doing that, you know, like a real big example is at my school, I teach more battery than I do front ensemble. Um, and I've got a really small battery. I got one freshman on the battery, and we're marching all flat drums, no bass drums, because we weren't able to recruit. We lost some students, that kind of stuff, and we said let's teach the kids to really drum. So everyone's on a flat drum. So we got a flam exercise working on, and the freshman is not at all ready to play flams. So instead of him playing flams, you know, the other thing that we're working on is like stick heights, playing downstrokes to be able to play like true accents and taps. So as he's playing that, he's taking the flams out and playing the downstrokes and the accents and taps to focus on that. While the older students are playing the flams over top of that, you know.
Yeah.
So in a normal season, you know, I don't know that we would have spent the time to do that. Well, let's talk about like that kid, first of all, would not have been on a flat drum.
Yeah.
And then like he'd have been on a bass drum or on a rack position and never learned to play flams.
Yeah.
Whereas now at the end of band camp, he was adding the flams in to the exercise.
So basically, you can teach more to your own syllabus instead of, you know, whatever competition circuits.
Correct.
Syllabus.
Correct. There's no like, you know, in a piece of in like one of the show tunes, you know, you can have multiple different parts going on in a front ensemble or a battery and not worry about like, all right, well, not all the marimbas are playing four mallets. Okay. What judge is going to talk about that? Oh, right. We're not getting judged. So
Right.
it can be like all of the goal orientation of marching band this year has to be about like program growth and individual student growth versus like we're going to win this competition, because also at the end of the day there's only one winner.
So have you seen a difference in how the students are rehearsing? Because they, you know, without this like carrot in front of their nose, would you say that you've had to do extra driving with kids, or like are they pretty, have you found some pretty consistent work ethics, or
So I've found pretty consistent work ethics. I will say where it has hit the most is that we have had students quit because marching band's not the same without bringing home trophies or whatever, or you
yeah.
know, whatever. And obviously we've lost some students, and this is I think for most of the programs that I'm involved with, have lost students obviously because of the pandemic. Like some parents are just like, it's not safe to go out, so you're not doing marching band. um I think the bands that I've seen rehearse are doing it really, really smart. And, you know, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Um, but I think the biggest hit hasn't been work ethic of the kids that want to be there, because the kids that want to be there would do whatever we ask them to. And I would imagine you have probably experienced the same thing, but it's losing the kids that didn't have that internal drive. They only had that external drive to win trophies. Have you kind of experienced that too with your programs?
Um, you know, yeah. So thankfully, both programs have been there for quite a while, so I like already can gauge the students and, you know, their work ethic. And I can say that at both of them, it's the ones that would normally be hard workers with a competition season are still pretty hard workers, and then the ones who the ones who are there for whatever reason are still we still have yet
there
to
for
find that
whatever
reason.
reason.
Yeah. so so yeah, it's like that is pretty cool to know that I work with kids who have like some real integrity, and work ethic, and to either the must be the water in the town or whatever, but like it's good to be there, or good good to know that those kids have that and that they're willing to keep going for.
Right. I mean, I think it's refreshing to know that kids want to get better versus like just want to win trophies.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, and I've got at one of my schools, I've got kids that are just like, they're they're great. You get on a water break and you can't not hear references about like, how bad so and so says they want to be on the Blue Coats line, or like, oh no, this is super sweet. I think I'm gonna go audition for this WGI line this winter or whatever. And like, when I started at this school, there was none of that. None of that was taking place, and
Mm-hmm.
just like to see the whole program's growth over that time, to where even when things are kind of dismal, they still like have bigger goals than just like BOA International. They like see a marching career for themselves, which is pretty sweet. Clearly these aren't the kids that are there for whatever reason. These are kids that are like pretty driven. Um, and yeah, that's pretty cool to see that happening. I think like they still set the tone for everybody else in that ensemble, and it's just like it's kind of for even the school that we're both at, still just kind of like another day in the neighborhood when it comes to rehearsal etiquette. And like, I actually
Yeah,
think
I will.
we rehearse better at our shared school now.
Yeah, I will say the school that we both work at, it feels no different really,
It's
because
like
it's like the kids just are quiet, want to be good, and
they're like a well-oiled machine. It's pretty
oh
sweet.
yeah,
Yeah,
oh yeah.
yeah, definitely. It's pretty cool. But yeah, what about your other school? What are some differences and things that you've had to come over, like obstacles you've had to overcome during the season?
Um, I will say that I've been really fortunate at my main school that there haven't really been any obstacles to overcome. Um, like I said a little bit ago, we had a bunch of kids kind of bail, and a lot of that was some of that was the pandemic, and some of that was just they didn't, for whatever reason. Last year was my first year. They didn't enjoy the way I did things and didn't want to, you know, we're not open to trying different things. Um, so they left the program, and I'm super sad to see those kids go because they were all good kids. But it left us in a little bit smaller position. But I will say that I've had more fun teaching band this year than I have had in a really long time, just because I'm enjoying the kids that want to be there. The vibe is way more positive.
Yeah,
Um, it's all good. Like it, we talked about the school that we're both at being a well-oiled machine, and it's like we're not well-oiled yet, but like the right oil's going into the machine to get all the cogs working,
yeah,
versus like there's the one kid that's like got the stick and he's like just poking it in there so nothing's actually going. We don't have anything like that. But I mean, we have, like I said, we have every kid on a flat drum in the battery. We have every kid up front we have a synth player, and then we have every kid on keyboards.
yeah,
So every kid's like learning their scales. Every kid's learning how to hold four mallets. Every kid is learning like music theory and chords and that kind of stuff. And it's really refreshing to know that that is then going to trickle into like the concert band season, however that's going to work. But that we're able to go and climb that, like their previous knowledge, and gaining on that is their biggest hurdle.
yeah.
What about your other program?
Um, well, I'd say they are still they're so they're still doing a show. The show is like let's see here. Let me think. I want to answer this well. Um yeah, okay. So, it's pretty much as you per usual. I'd say the rehearsal etiquette got better this year for sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
But we're still preparing for a show, so it's still like a normal competition type ensemble, like instrumentation. And yeah, I'd say there's like a little bit less drive, but I think, just because things are so wonky and they've missed so many of their like introduction camps during
Right.
spring when things were just like canceled. It wasn't just like show up with precautions. Everything shut down for this. So a lot of that training that takes place in May, April, and whatever early year, it just is clearly not showing up there because they took that break. But that's okay. That's okay, and it's cool to see that the rehearsal etiquettes like increased so much that I know that they actually probably have a higher potential than they did, if they were to be like more chatty and giggly throughout the whole rehearsal, which is cool on occasion, whatever. But you got to know like there's a reason you've all gathered today, and it's not to just laugh at each other. So it's been pretty refreshing to be able to like talk for like we'll blow an hour of rehearsal and nobody will interrupt, or like it'll just be like focused rehearsal. That's pretty sweet.
That's awesome. So it sounds like all three of the programs, the one that we both work at, and then the one you're at and the one I'm at, sounds like they're moving in the right direction, even though the world's kind of put on hold with the competition and everything.
Right.
It'll be interesting. Have you heard anything? And this was just the order that we got here in Ohio yesterday about like, I think halftime is going to be 10 minutes long instead of the normal 20 minutes.
Okay.
And stadium capacity can be like 15% of stadium capacity versus, 100% or whatever. Have you heard anything about how that's going to affect the band being able to go to football games or anything?
Yeah, I feel like it's been the same thing all year. Like, okay, so what's the word? Don't know yet. There's no plan, but we need you to be prepared. Right? What's gonna happen? Don't know. What do we prepare for? Get prepared. Like, and so, and I still feel like it's the same way. They're like, yep, we have this now, but at any given moment, it could. We all just know it could come to a standstill. And I think that's just like the general attitude that I'm seeing, that I'm experiencing with all the football stuff. So far, I haven't heard really any. I think everybody's still in the planning stages since it's such recent news. Or
Yeah.
and yeah, you.
The band director and I were talking about it a little bit today, and I don't know. That's the biggest question is I don't know. Is
Yeah.
I don't know, like, does the band count as part of that 15%?
Yeah.
Because it's like 15% or 1,500, whichever number is lower
Okay.
is the number, and that's for like NFL, MLB, college, like every sports team can now have 15% or 1,500, whichever is less. But like, does marching band count as part of that? And it wasn't well spelled out, so I think I think it sounds like it's kind of a wait and see. And from what I'm hearing is a lot of like there's rules you have to follow, but it's also the discretion of the school district. So hopefully that will be determined sooner rather than later because football games start next Friday.
That's so crazy. So I know. Okay, so I know I've got an answer for this, but have you seen a difference between how like outdoor sports have been taking precautions versus how your band programs have been taking precautions?
This is honestly, what's that?
Are we allowed to talk about this? Yeah, we can talk about this, right?
I mean, well, honestly, it's different program to program. Like as I've seen, like, either just driving through the highway or at schools or whatever, like some football teams are just business as usual and everything is normal and whatnot. And I will say that the school that I'm at, I have not seen all the football rehearsals, but the last couple, like we have the band practice field and the football practice field is literally right beside it. So when we're practicing, we're watching the football team also practice, which is a distraction sometimes for, teenage kids. But they run, from what I've seen, they've been running their like warm up drills and everything, like in staggered blocks, 6 feet apart from each other, obviously the contact drills, those they're allowed to happen in Ohio now, so that you obviously can't have a contact sport and social distance, but in every instance that they can be, they are, from what I've seen. And our school has mandated like kids have to wear a mask from the second they get out of the car to when they get to practice. Yeah, they have to wear it from when they get out of the car to when they get to practice, and the coach tells them they can take it off.
Whoa, your school where you teach does that?
Yeah.
I honestly, I just did not expect that.
Yeah, they've been like really strict. They also love football, so they're like anything we can do to make it happen. And
That's
I think that from what I've experienced, and it's banned, it's everything. Like once you step out of the car, your mask is on your face until you are told you can take it off.
wow. Okay, that's crazy. Yeah. So my other program, it's like they won't go in the building without a mask, but at the same time
Yeah.
they'll like walk like a herd of cattle, just like kind of close together. I don't know. It seems like a lot less strict than they won't like all be huddled up, maybe as much as they usually would be. The only thing I've heard the coach talk about or like say out loud, which I'm sure it just gets dismal if he's got to deal with it all day, but like if the kids are defiant or whatever, I guess, trying to get all those kids on the same wavelength with like how to wear basically what is like a new protocol,
Mm-hmm.
trying to make it all similar. It has to be exhausting uh, for like a sport like that. But yeah, not so much care. Like it's just, or like maybe they just can't and do and still be productive, but
Right.
no, like they'll still they're like sweating. They're so close to each other, they're probably dripping sweat on each other. You know, like
Yeah, I mean that's unavoidable, unfortunately. But so you brought up a good point just a second ago, where it's like all these new protocols and everything that we're having to do because of the pandemic and whatnot. What has your experience been at your programs in terms of getting the kids to buy into those? Do you kind of see any kickback or you know
um,
anything like that?
I no kid has been like I refuse to wear my mask. I haven't. Usually I like monitor kids. I haven't had to tell a single kid to like wear a mask or anything. Um, Usually if they take them off, I'm like, all right, I'll like time it, and they're usually pretty good about putting it back on their own. Um, so far, kids like maybe it's what their parents have told them, or like maybe it's just their social cues. They're pretty good about it. They're
Yeah,
so,
I've had the exact same experience where it's like I've had to tell the kids like, hey, you know, we're just wearing masks. We don't need them on, or we don't need to take them off to like play our instruments because we're not putting air through anything. So there's no reason not to have them on. Um, the first couple days of camp, like when I was working with the battery, we were in a giant arc spread out 6 feet apart from each other. And I made the kids step farther back to like pull their mask down and drink water just to be extra safe. And
yeah,
like, I think I had to say that 2 days, and then just automatically anytime a kid wanted to take their mask down to get a drink of water, they just walked away they walked like 4 or 5 steps back from the arc, took a drink of water, came back in, started drumming again. And it's been like, I've been a little bit more relaxed with that of just like, hey, if you need to take a drink of water, just take a drink of water, because I understand that we're all sweating our butts off with these new face accessories that we have on. But I mean, learning drill, sometimes they'll pull them down and it's like, I don't like it, but I'll give them like a rep or two to like, if I can see that they're like struggling because of the heat, because it was hot here a couple days
Yeah.
over the last couple weeks. It's like, all right, you get like a rep or two, and then then I'm gonna say something. And besides that, it's not been an issue.
That's cool. We're both probably really fortunate about that, to be able to work and like still feel like really all that can happen is like the best possible precautions, you know.
Absolutely.
At least there are precautions, as to where I feel like some places there are not. So have you had wind players blowing? Are that like what's going on at your building?
So everything takes place outside. We're not inside at all whatsoever. So if it like starts raining in the middle of a block, like we had one rehearsal that was like 9 to noon, and it started raining at like 10:30. I was like, all right, pack everything up, wipe it down, and call your parents.
Wow.
So like, it's been that kind of thing, but nothing goes on inside. The wind players have been playing. You know, I've been kind of secluded because the percussion's been rehearsing on the other side of campus for right now, other than going over for drill and whatnot. And drill is usually like when they're moving and playing, masks are down, that kind of stuff, obviously, because they're playing.
Yeah.
But I think in my experience, that has been a little more relaxed on that side of things, just because it's up, down, up, down, up, down. Whereas like for us, just leave it up till you need a drink of water or a snack or something,
Right.
How about you? How about your programs?
So I think like our shared program, the kids have like split masks, right? So they can still like the masks like move with their jawline, but if like, so, I don't know if it's like how effective they are at this point with massive holes in them, but like I guess there has to be like semi restricting anyway, and then that way, I guess it like keeps good old wind player slobber from flying everywhere when they put a mouthpiece up to their face. So I mean that's like cool that even that the kids don't ever have to pull their masks down, because they just like can put things in between it, I guess, and that still covers the nose, whatever. That's pretty cool. And then also at our shared program, the kids have T-shirts on in front of all their bells, which I was wow, like just definitely like a lot of thought has gone into it for sure. That I think the band directors are killing it on that organization. And then at my other program, I don't think it's the same way. Like kids have to keep distance, wear masks when they can, but I see like fewer kids. I've seen like a lot fewer kids keeping them on, I guess, because they feel like they're distanced enough on the field that they're. And the band directors have not communicated anything about like how it should be enforced or anything. So like, there's that.
Yeah.
But the percussion, the pit has been really good about it though, for real. I haven't had to say a word about it. So yeah, we've hit everything on the list.
Oh.
Do you have anything else?
Yeah, I do. This is something I did the end of the first week, and I've been trying to do. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to do the last couple of weeks at the end of the week, or just every once in a while, try to get the kids together to do like a run through of stuff.
Yeah.
Because, as we learned this past winter, that our seasons can be taken from us whenever, and marching band is moving forward, and football and sports are moving forward and whatnot, but at the end of the day it can go away at the blink of an eye. So I would just encourage everybody to do like I called it a show and tell, where the battery played for the front ensemble played for the battery, or just like percussion ensemble to do like a run through of stuff, or like small ensembles, like just the front ensemble does a run or whatever, to feel like a sense of finality, just in case that is like the final moment that we get. It's not going to be, it's obviously not the end of marching band as we know it, unless, something really bad happens to the world. But I do think to give the students and ourselves a sense of closure, because I know the indoor season was very not unfulfilling, but was just like, dang,
Yeah.
it didn't feel like it culminated well, and my school was super fortunate. We had a rehearsal the next Monday, in which case we like sewed together a transition, and then like I recorded the show in its entirety, because we had literally just finished it. But if we wouldn't have had a chance to do that, we would have never had a run of the whole thing, and I know there are a lot of programs that were in that boat this winter, where they got together to do a run for a video, or were just like, well, what we did last time was it. So I just encourage everybody to like try to give yourself points of like, all right, we're gonna do this and it's gonna feel complete, so that way if the season ends, it feels like the journey was done, even if it wasn't as far as we wanted to go.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's a good point. So, is there anything from pandemic year that you plan on keeping with you as you move forward in future seasons?
That idea, definitely. I've talked about this a lot with other people, and it's like trying to give ourselves points in the middle of a season to where we can feel good about things, and like take in the moments that we have, like record a run every once in a while, you know,
Yeah.
snap a picture with the kids after their first performance. Because that's like, for some kids, like that first football game will be their first performance. They won't know what it is to do a competition. They'll only know what it is to like go on and hurry off in the 10-minute halftime. But that's still a memory for them. And I think we've got to get excited for our students in those memories and help them create those memories. So I think that's the biggest thing for me, especially for people that know me for a while. I can be a little grouchy in the middle of a season at times when things aren't at a certain level of quality, but at the same time, like those kids are still striving really, really hard, and I think taking time to acknowledge that is what I definitely plan on taking forward for myself. What about you?
Um, yeah, that's a good question. I guess this is not something I've thought about, even though I did ask the question. What I'd say I do like the fact that we're capable of teaching things that aren't just like, on a judge's score sheet. I'm like
Mm-hmm.
pretty excited by that fact, and that I feel like I've been way more creative with exercises this year, and like this is probably the first year. No, I'm not going to be absolute here, but this is definitely a year where I like. There have been times where I like, if I'm not the percussion director of the program, which I'm not anymore right now, so like I would walk into rehearsal and I'm like, can I not touch show music today? Like, can I just not hit it? Like, can I just do
Right.
exercise? And I like really am craving like doing these exercises, as to where I'm like, oh, I bet we can like make it more difficult this way and cover this with the same thing, or like um keep finding new ways to be creative, keeping them occupied, taking the same thing and flipping it around a million different ways, and then like attacking one exercise with another exercise. I don't think I've ever used so many different sub exercises, or like, you know, I've never been so precise about like scaffolding techniques here, as I have, I think, this season. Yeah, so hopefully I would definitely take exercises more serious in the future, or like, I don't know, because also I've heard a lot recently of band directors being like just complaining that the percussion techs spend too much time on exercises. So like, obviously there's a balance, but I think maybe I'll take them less for granted in the future anyway.
There's never enough time for exercises, by
Yeah.
the way. Kids
Yeah.
got to play well.
Absolutely, absolutely. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm like, usually I'm like, okay, I've got this competition coming in over my head. Like, you gotta hit the pavement on this show music, whatever. It
Mhm.
has to be learned, and then kind of like teaching technique through the necessity of it in the show. But then like with the exercises, you could just like, you're building puzzles for the kids, and it's like, it's sweet to see that puzzle solved, or like the challenge, and the like the watch that learning phase as you've created for them, and as they get it, that's just totally different than trying to apply it randomly to show book, I think,
That's awesome.
if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I'm always a fan of like cleaning the show book through exercises,
Yeah,
but I really like that, like cleaning exercises with exercises.
yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes you gotta
One day somebody's just going to do a show about exercises. Hopefully.
If anybody takes that idea, please know that we've just claimed copyright on it, and rights are here. They're here. You gotta pay for them. We have a
So
Venmo.
as we're getting ready to go back to school, Rob, is there anything that you are kind of keeping in mind? I know you're a full-time elementary school teacher and whatnot,
Yeah.
but I also know that you do some after-school stuff with the schools. So is there anything that you're keeping in mind as we're getting ready to move forward, scheduling lessons, or just things that you're thinking about that could help people also moving forward to get ready to go back to school?
I feel like this year I've been really forced to think about things that kids can do at home without like classroom drums, or like ways that they can be more involved with it. Like, I know I explored so many different music websites and programs. Have you heard of Patatap? Did I say that right? Have I shown this to you before?
I don't think so. I've heard of something like that, but I don't think I've ever like dug into it.
Yeah, so you just go to this website, and then your keyboard becomes a drum machine. Like, it becomes like a massive DTX pad where you hit a key and it's got a different sound. Hit the space bar, all the different sounds like interchange, and like it's a totally different instrument. And then there's like a visual aspect to it and everything. Like, even if you're not an elementary kid, this is like a program that I'm like, I can kill time here. It's like great for like being creative at home, coming up with like, sometimes you just want to sit there and like press buttons and like see if you can create a beat from your keyboard, and the sounds are like pretty pleasing. It's pretty cool. Yeah, and I've really just explored different ways of, and like facets of being creative, getting kids to have instruments at home that they can be creative on. Because like, kids aren't always going to have a piano, they're not always going to have like a guitar or whatever at home, but especially not one that they can like really build their interest on, and, or keyboard at home. They don't always have marimba at home, but like, I know that I've used, all like coming up with like, sometimes I write like dumb beats, whatever, electronic beats through Ableton, and I'll use Patatap as inspiration. And I know that kids would be pretty fascinated with this as well. Um, most kids have cell phones. A lot of kids have cell phones. If they don't have cell phones, they got iPads, or like, access to a computer. Um, and I think anything you can do to make music and appreciated music in general, not just like very click, four mallet holding, front ensemble playing music only. Like, if you can make any way that you can make a bigger, more well-rounded musician out of a kid, you know, more powerful educator you are, or it's good.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I really like that. I just ordered a set of practice pads for my high school to be able to, like, when we're in school, be able to pull all the percussion out, and like they get a stand and they get a pad, and like hopefully all they have to do is like pick up the stand and have their sticks in their hands that they own, like carry it out and then wipe down that little part of the stand and whatnot, so that hopefully, we're not having to disinfect everything, like the entire thing every single day, and that kind of stuff. But I've also been doing a lot of research on, we're a one-to-one school, which I think a lot of schools are down here, which is like the Google Chrome, like everyone gets a Chromebook. So I've been trying to do some research on like what are software notation programs and DAW programs that work on a Chromebook, and they're hard to come by. But I've been doing some research on that to, just like you said, teach students, like if we go back into remote learning, like teach students how to write music, like write a simple melody, and then when we get back into school, you're going to perform it for each other, or write a little like 8-bar drum etude, and you're going to play it for each other when you come back to school. I think like you, I'm really excited about different ways to get kids excited about music education, not just here's your 4 mallets, or here's your 2 drumsticks and 8 on a hand and 8th notes, and pull out stick control again for the 50th day in a row. Not that those things aren't important, but I think we're going to be challenged to educate kids in a different way. And I'm kind of excited by what I've been learning about the online stuff.
Yeah, honestly, I'm like looking back to I'm going back to school right now. Like I'm going through PD, and they're talking about like how to have kids in the building. Like when we go back to school, like here are the precautions that we're going to take. In my district, instead of like going at it and then closing, they decided to start remote and then hopefully maybe open earlier. I don't, our county is doing okay with the health board. And if the way the kids come back, I'd be teaching music on a cart, as to where otherwise right now virtually I get to take longer than each class period preparing a full lesson. Like I usually cut my videos and like edit them so that they're at least moderately entertaining for the kids to watch, as opposed to like if I'm on a cart, I can't carry, with my videos, usually I tell the kids how to make instruments at home. And so out of like household instruments. So I'll be like, today we're doing a play along with with our cardboard box that we've saved for quarantine. But now they come into school, I can't have instruments. The kids can't like share the instruments, or I can't use the same set of instruments to pass along out to every kid. So, and there's no singing, can't sing, probably can't shout or anything.
Yeah, bring your cardboard box to school.
I was just about to say, it's probably might have to resort to like, all right, kids, I need everybody to have your own like empty ground coffee, but like.
Yeah.
I keep one in my desk,
Yep.
My membranophone. So bring these in every day so that we can do music class. That might be my saving grace, actually.
Put some rice in there. You got a shaker.
Yeah, Idiophone, I think. I like had a farewell drive-by at my school where the kids got a chance at the end of the school year after we finished remote learning. The kids' parents drove them through the circle. It's elementary kids. We mostly saw like kindergartners pulling through here, and they drove through the circle, and all the teachers are like 15 feet apart from each other wearing masks, like terrified to be passing around the coronavirus. And the kids are driving by, and this one kid, he has this homemade shaker, and he's like waving it out his window at me, and he screams, "Idiophone!" He was, hey, hello, like, good to see you, have a great summer, Idiophone! He's like screaming this at me. Patrick, I'm gonna bleep out his name. He's a kindergartner though. Yeah, pretty much made my school year. It was pretty awesome. And the kids that did their homework through remote learning, like some of them really enjoyed the fact that they could do this stuff at home. And then, they were more creative for that reason. They would like send back videos of things that they made in their free time. So, man, dude, yeah, if only we could get that enthusiasm from Pitt kids as my kindergartners.
Maybe we just got to make them make homemade idiophones.
Yeah, I feel like there would be a less enthusiastic reception for sure. Come
Or
on.
there'd be an extra syllable
Yeah.
in that word.
Yeah. Come on, teenagers. Look up to these 5-year-olds for how to operate yourselves. Oh well. Anyway, hey, I think we should do more follow-ups of doing COVID in the future, and I think we would love to have our listeners put input here. Hit us up, frontiered@gmail.com, Frontier EDU at Instagram, and Frontier at Facebook. Is that right? Is that our
Yes.
Facebook?
Yep.
Yeah, hit us up, message us, email us. Let us know what your program's doing. We want to hear this. We want to talk about it. Maybe, help
How
you.
was your band camp? Like, what'd you guys get done?
Anybody
You
cancel?
know, what are some exercises that you did this year that maybe you don't normally do?
Is anybody having problems getting paid because they wrote something, or like, is anybody having a really struggling year because of coronavirus? Has anybody just not been able? Has the writing season been bad? Has anybody's band been totally canceled? Clearly, I think about this way too much for the multiple possibilities here, but like, yeah, let us know what you're doing, so we can talk about this here in the future. That's all I got. See you next time
On the Frontier.